Hey all. So I'm going to be doing a quick lesson on She's So Cold by the Rolling Stones. Um, just a real quick run through. I think there are two guitars worth learning in this song, particularly if you're a beginner trying to figure out, like major bar chords. It's a good song for that. If you just want to do kind of like the basic power chord, because I'm pretty sure on the standard tuning guitar, which is the main riff that you hear throughout the whole song, that's all Keith Richards is doing. Is he's chunking on this like that. Um, I don't think he ever really. Maybe at towards the end of the verses, heading into the choruses and like the little breaks between the verses, he might be doing his kind of like something like that. But I'm not that sure. I think for the most part, he's just playing those two low strings. And I think there's also an open G guitar in there. I've heard before that Mick Jagger was the one playing the open G guitar, but I'm not so sure about that. A lot of the mannerisms that I'm hearing in the open G part of the song trace to Keith a lot. I don't know if Keith was teaching Mick how to play open G, because I know a lot of times when Mick plays the open G guitars in songs, like in Sad, 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 or one of those songs, he's playing an open G a lot. But again, I'm not entirely sure. To me, it sounds like Keith Richards. If you disagree, whatever. So a quick rig rundown. I'm just doing Epiphone Les Paul. I'm sure that Keith is probably playing a Telly. I know kind of like before the 80s and after the 80s, Keith prefers Gibsons a lot. But during that sort of like late 70s, early 80s period, I think he was mainly playing that thin line Telecaster with the two humbuckers. I don't have anything like that right now because my Telly's always an open G, so I'm just gonna play through this. I have like a little Vox modeling amp that sounds okay for the volume, So anyway, quick run through. The riff is pretty much the same all the way through. So the opening is that G power chord. So you could do kind of that E shape where you bar the third fret to make the G chord, then middle finger on the fourth fret on the G string, and then pinky and ring finger on the fifth fret on the D and the A strings. But again, I don't think Keith's doing that. I think Keith is just pointer finger on the sixth string, so the low E on the third fret, and then pinky or ring finger. I think pinky is easier, but you can do ring finger too. On the fifth fret on the A string, and he's just doing that down picking. I think an important part of the sound on this is a lot of reverb, mostly clean, maybe a little bit of crunch, and palm muting for sure. So a little bit of a gentle palm mute on there. If you're just trying to, if this is like one of the first songs you're trying to learn for whatever, it's kind of a deep cut, but if you're a super fan like I am, you're trying to learn this song as one of your first songs, I get it. Palm muting is kind of difficult to learn to begin with. So if you don't want to do that, you can play it open too. I just think it sounds better personally if you're palm muting a little bit. But anyway, so it's, I think, mostly down picking. And then he lifts his pointer finger off of that E string to get that. And then he goes to the C chord, but the same shape. So you just bring your fingers down one string. So. And then he does, I think that's F right there. So it's basically like a D shape, but you're up here, so you go down again. So you have G, down one string with both the ring or pointer and pinky, and that's C, and then you have F. And then he slides into the G chord, but an octave up. So all in all, it's like this: G, C, F, G. So all together. So that's pretty much the whole song, except for the middle part with Ronnie Wood's little slide guitar solo. The only difference is that opening, he goes back and forth between the G and the C a couple times. So like this is kind of the opening. There will be like little variations. The chords never really change throughout the verses or the choruses. Keith will just kind of like play the same chords but in different spots from time to time. So sometimes he might do this instead. I think really before we get to the bridge, the only thing I think that's worth knowing is kind of like if there's any lick from this song that's like famous. I know it's again kind of a deep cut song, but if there's any lick from this song that's famous, it's definitely that little lead lick that Keith will do over and over again. So it's just, at least that's how I hear it. So it's just kind of like you got the G minor pentatonic here. So it's kind of like within if you just bring the pentatonic back a little bit. I don't know if that's a different scale. I don't know music that well. I just know how to play the guitar. But basically it's just that in that box there. So it'd be like something like that. That's more of like if you're just trying to learn the song in general. If you're a beginner, don't get confused. Just learn the minor pentatonic first and then go back to the song once you understand how to play more complex things than power chords, you know. Not to be condescending, but it's just like it'll just be confusing, right? If you're trying to learn pentatonic and then, you know, anyway. So the only other part to learn really is the bridge, and the bridge is super easy. All it is all it is the G chord, and then you take it back a step. So, and it's kind of got that like, I don't know, just a super basic kind of Keith Richards loose, you know, down up, down down up, and then kind of plucking dead strings every once in a while. So like. So it's going to be the G chord, G major. You probably could do it down where he's playing the main riff. I don't think he does. I think he jumps up an octave to here. But you can do that. I mean, it definitely sounds fine. You know, I just think the way he plays it in the song, he jumps up to the A shape. So if you want to do the G chord way up here, you'd be barring only the bottom 5 strings. So A, D, G, B, and E at the 10th fret. And then you bar with your pinky over the 12th fret on the D, G, B strings, like that. So, and then you just drop it back a step to, oh goodness, that'd be F. So G back to F. And then you go all the way back to C. And that'd be A sharp or B flat, whatever you're more comfortable calling it. Wait, would it be? Yeah, it'd be A sharp. So B flat. So, yeah. So one more time, G. So G, F, C, down to the B flat. The only difference is that he does that one time. So he'll sit on that G chord for a little bit, and then he'll do it again. So all together. Through that one more time because I think I admittedly missed something there. So he jumps into the bridge and goes. There is he goes through it one time, then he sits on the G chord, kind of just like that, then he does it again, and then he goes in and starts like he's going to do the bridge again, but then he'll go down to the D chord to kind of resolve the whole thing, and then it'll go back into the main riff. So it'll sound like. And that's pretty much the whole thing, with the exception of the. I mean, it's a super simple song, so I mean, it's a good one to learn, I think. I don't know if I'm any good at teaching. I hope I am, but anyway, we'll jump over to the open G part real quick, just because it's basically the same thing. If you've never dealt with open G before, I don't know if this is the song to learn it on, just because there are probably way better songs to learn open G on, just because it's kind of abstract. It's not the main riff. I think I found open G is a lot easier to learn when it's the main riff and kind of has all the hooks to it. The open G in this song is very much supplemental. God, I hope it's in tune. It is very much in tune. Look at that. Okay, so open G, for those of you that don't know, if you're being a little daring here, I play it like Keith does. This guitar is always strung to open G. I don't ever have the low E on it. I always take the low E off. I throw out a low E string every time I restring this guitar. I know it is looking a little ratty. It needs a little maintenance. Also, the gig bag is shedding gunk on my strings, which is gnarly. But anyway, So open G, you take the low E string off, and then the A string you tune down to G. That's how you make it an open G chord. And then the E string, the high E string, because you don't have a low E string, the high E string you tune to D. If you don't want to take the low E off, I know some people aren't comfortable with that. In my experience, it doesn't really harm your guitar, especially if you keep up with the maintenance on it, but some people disagree, whatever. But if you want to keep the low E on, you can tune it down to D as well to match the high E string. It gives it a really bassy, not very good sound. Keith Richards takes the low E off for that reason, because these riffs are very like choppy and bright sounding, and particularly this one. So I think it's worth taking the low E off, but that's up to you. So again, A string's going to be D. Sorry, A string's going to be G. You're going to tune it down a step to G. And then D, G, B are going to stay the same. And then D, high E you will tune down to D. Just like that. It sounds wonderful, especially on a telly. And then because it's open G, when the guitar comes in, when the open G guitar comes in a little bit, I think it's on the right channel, I don't remember, but it comes in on one side in particular. It's very like bright and choppy. He's just doing the same thing. He's playing it open because open is a G chord. So he'll just kind of chunk on the two lowest strings, kind of giving it a little bit of a country. So because you don't have the low E string, you do have to go all the way up the neck to play the whole riff, basically. So open, and then bar all the way across at that 5th fret to get the C major chord. And then you're going to go all the way up to the 10th fret to get the F. Sorry, I drew a blank. To get the F. So I'll play it all the way through. Something like that. You can throw in those classic open G Keith licks like the, which you would just slide up. I don't know, I'm gonna leave those to you to figure out. I think learning by ear is my favorite way to learn, so I think that's one of those things that you want to learn something like that, throw on a couple open G songs like Brown Sugar or All Down the Line. To learn that. So I think the most important part to learn, and the reason that this can be kind of a hard open G part to remember, is that he'll switch to a little kind of mini riff an octave up. So at some point in the song, Keith will go all the way to the G at the 12th fret. So it's just an octave up from open. Do the major chord shape. So you just, it's like the classic open G, the classic open G lick. So just real quick, if you're going to play it all the way up here at the 12th fret, you bar the 12th fret all the way, and then your ring finger would go 2 frets up. So at the 14th fret on the D string, and then your middle finger will go on the 13th string on the 13th fret on the B string. So that's all there is to it, really. That's the whole song, pretty much. So Keith will kind of just switch back and forth between. like a kind of mirroring the main riff. So while he's on that open G on the standard tuning guitar, you are going, and then as he goes up to the C on the standard tuning, as he goes up to the C on the open G guitar, he'll go. So he's at the G and you're up here. So when he gets to the C chord, you're holding this now, because that's also a C. You're just holding the suspension on the G major in order to make it a C. So this is still a G, but when you hold this shape, when you hold that shape, it becomes a C. So this is G, and this, that's also G, but when you hold the shape, it becomes a C. So while Keith is sitting here in the main riff, so while he's sitting here, you're here. But once he gets to the F, you're also going to jump back a step, so to the 10th fret, and you're going to bar there. So you're kind of meeting him there. So he's down low and you're up high. But by the time he gets to the F chord, you're going to meet him there with this, down at the 10th fret. So it creates a really cool effect, and once you hear it in the song, you can never unhear it. It's awesome. But just one more time, I'll run through that. So G, C, and then down to F. And that's pretty much all there is to the whole song. Again, there's the bridge. That's the exact same thing. If you just follow what I taught you in the standard tuning version, because if you just take out this finger here, you have the same power chord, because you're tuning this string down, so that way you can I don't know how to explain this well. Basically, when you're playing a bar chord just straight across the bar, straight across the fretboard like this in open G, you're playing an A shape, but because of the way you have the guitar tuned, you don't need to do this like you do in a normal A shape, right? So for instance, this is how you would normally fret like an A shape if you're just doing like a classic, I mean obviously it doesn't sound correct here, but if you were just doing a classic kind of Chuck Berry thing, that's how you would fret it. You'd leave that string open. But if I play that, that's obviously incorrect, because the way I have this guitar tuned right now, if you bar right here, you now have that A shape. So you don't need to leave that string open. You can just bar straight across and you'll get the A chord. So it's the same principle. So take what you learned on the standard tuning guitar, where you had this fretted like this, except all you need to do is fret where your pinky would have been. So to get the G chord, you'll be at the 12th fret. To get the F, you'll jump back a step to the 10th fret. And to get C, you'll jump back to the 5th. Basically the whole thing. I hope this was helpful. If if anyone even cares. Again, kind of a deep cut of a song, but it's one of my favorites by them. I think it's probably one of Keith's best, just simple, choppy, kind of lazy rhythm that he's known for. You know, I think personally it's up there with All Down the Line, which is kind of sacrilege, because All Down the Line is like, man, I could go on for hours about All Down the Line. Maybe I'll do a lesson on that one. Anyway, She's So Cold. There it is. If you have any questions, if anybody watches, you can, I guess, comment and let me know. If nobody watches, then I don't know. Guess this would have been kind of pointless. But anyway, a couple quick notes, I guess, maybe while I'm thinking about it. There is a slide part, and I'm pretty sure that's Ronnie Wood's only contribution to this song. Just judging by the playing on this, it all sounds very Keith Richards to me. I mean, for sure, that standard tuning thing is very indicative of what Keith was doing at the time. I mean, if you listen to songs like Let Me Go, Neighbors, and Hang Fire, those two were off of Tattoo You. Keith was very much into, okay, see you later. Keith Richards was very much into that low E, kind of chunky rhythm, a lot of down picking, and palm muting. So I think standard tuning is for sure Keith Richards. It's possible that that open G part I just showed you, you know, it does kind of have like a Ronnie Wood sound to it, but just, I mean, even that sounds very Keith to me. That's not something that Ronnie Wood was ever known to do. This part here sounds very Ronnie to me, though. That sounds very Ronnie Wood to me, but again, it's definitely all one guitar track that this open G guitar is in. I don't know that Ronnie was ever known to play open G. Maybe in slide, which, you know, transitioning to just the open G riff without the slide. I guess he could have done that, but I don't think so. I think really, genuinely, his only contribution to this song was the little slide guitar parts throughout. And, you know, Mick Jagger, great musician. His contributions as a guitar player are minimal at best throughout the Stones' career. You know, once in a while he plays some power chords, and I think that's about it. So I think it's mostly, I think this is a Keith Richards composition for the most part. But yeah, so hope this helped somebody.